the 5th round. Another trip to the South Coast to take on Portsmouth. After the game, Bukayo Saka, Arsenal defender, saying this: Mikel Arteta is trying to bring back the philosophy of the Arsenal way. We did that well in the first half, not so much in the second. So that Arsenal philosophy, Craig, that Arsenal DNA.
Yeah, well, the Arsenal philosophy was quite simple, particularly when Arsene Wenger came in, was, well, one, he ended the drinking culture, or he tried to. Took him a wee while, and the philosophy was go out and get good players.
Right.
Which he did. And so you can talk about philosophies all you want, but that's going to take a recruitment drive. But anyway, different story. Professional performance from Arsenal. Another side like Man United that couldn't afford the banana skin. And luckily for them, they got a hapless Bournemouth to play.
Right.
Away.
Yes.
So, job done.
Hapless, probably the right word for Bob.
Yeah.
Are you seeing some evidence of what Saka was talking about? Some sort of reversion to some magical Arsenal DNA of the past?
Well, you mean passing the ball to each other?
Well, that certainly helps.
Listen, they look as though they're trying to pass it around quicker than they did previously. That is the only change I see. And I'm with Craig. You know, that it's typical of a young player to come out and kind of spew the rhetoric that the coach is coming out with, because you know that's what Arteta's doing. And young players will definitely be influenced by that. Some of the older guys will be, yeah, we heard it before. But I'll tell you what, right now, in this game they were comfortable, and it was because of the young players. So, good to them.
Isn't that just fine, though, if it's the young players buying into what Arteta's selling?
Yeah, sure. But I would tell you that Saka is not old enough to know what the philosophy of the Arsenal way is and the history of the club and this and that and the other. But what I do know is that guys like Saka, Martinelli, you found a team that was willing to work. And that's part of the success early on from Mikel Arteta, is that, okay, look, at the very least, let's compete. Let's make it difficult for other teams. Let's work hard. Let's work for each other. Let's win 50-50 challenges. And you get a lot of that work and a lot of that energy from some of the young players. And Ketia is one of them, Pepe on the right-hand side, and so on and so forth. And if you get that across the board, you have enough talent out on the field that you should be better than a team like Bournemouth. And today was simply that. They have enough talent out on the field that with hard work, you're able to match a team like Bournemouth, be better than them, win the game, move on.
Let's bring in someone who's been very much schooled in the Arsenal way. Stuart Robson with us. Stuart, fresh from calling the victory against Bournemouth. Are you seeing evidence of the mythical Arsenal way, Stuart?
No, I haven't seen that much from Mikel Arteta since he's been the Arsenal manager. I saw a little bit of movement in the Arsenal side that was slightly different today. Xhaka was playing in midfield at times, and he went to make a back three, which there's nothing special about that. And it meant that Saka could then break forward down that left-hand side. They created 2v1s in the wide areas on occasions. The balls into the front players were much better than they have been. And I think the second goal was set up by a pass from Mustafi. He was hitting those big diagonals that we see Man City play when Laporte's hitting them out to Mahrez or whoever out on the right-hand side. So there was signs that he was getting the shape. But in the second half, when Bournemouth got tighter to them, made it more difficult, got the ball forward that little bit quicker, then we didn't see Arsenal have that same control. So he's got to do that when the teams are really pressing them and against better sides. Bournemouth were hopeless in that first half.
Who stood out for the Gunners for your money, Stuart?
Well, I thought Saka did well at left back. I mean, he's not going to play every week, but he at left back, come left wing back, I thought he looked a decent player. Willock, who played in the number 10 role to start with, did quite well. He turned his man a couple of times and looked to find that little bit of space behind the main striker. And I was a bit disappointed in Pepe in the second half. So there was one or two players that I thought played well, one or two players that didn't play quite so well. And I thought while he was on, Mustafi had the best game I've seen him play for us. With some of his crossfield passes, his balls into the front were much better. And he defended his box quite well on 2 or 3 occasions.
Yeah, that won't last.
Yeah, well, it lasted 57 minutes. Lasted 57 minutes tonight. The fifth round draw now looks like this. A lot of either-ors, of course, all sorts of replays. First pairing out of the hat could potentially be a big one. Chelsea against the winner of Shrewsbury and Liverpool. Manchester City have to go to Sheffield Wednesday. Manchester United on the road again against Northampton or Derby. Arsenal booking another trip to the South Coast to take on Portsmouth. Now then, about that replay, Liverpool and Shrewsbury, Jurgen Klopp, about the international break. In April 2019, or rather the Premier League break, I should say, we got a letter from the Premier League where they asked us to respect the winter break, not to organise international friendlies and not to organise competitive games in respect of it. I've said to the boys already that we will have a winter break, so it means we'll not be there. It will be the kids who play that game. I know it's not very popular, but that's the way I see it. If the FA do not respect it, then we cannot change. Well, the FA responded themselves today, saying that prior to the start of the 1920 season, all clubs accepted that FA Cup fourth round replays, where required, would have to take place during the first week of the mid-season break, player break. Stevie, where do we go with this? Because
I find it interesting to say, well, all the clubs knew that it was expected if the replays would go into there. So the clubs probably didn't want it, but had no choice.
Right.
So it's one thing for them to turn around and say, oh, by the way, any replays, that's when it's played. They didn't give the clubs a choice. They're coming out there as if everybody agreed, that's fine. Listen, at the end of the day, Klopp and Liverpool have to look after their own, because the FA are not going to do anything for them. You saw what happened with the Carabao Cup.
Yeah.
Who helped Liverpool then when they had to play a game the day after the so-called World Club competition? So hold on a second, it goes both ways.
Well, they got a chance to move that though and didn't move it.
what do you make of the FA's response today, Craig?
But 1 second here. The FA moved the fifth round to accommodate the winter break.
They moved it later, didn't they?
They moved it a little bit later. They've also, I believe, brought forward, because of the amount of English clubs that were in the Champions League late stages last year, they brought forward scrapping from the fifth round onwards. There's no replays.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
Now, there's a couple of ways to look at this, though. Yes, the clubs knew about it, but if it was such a big problem and Jurgen Klopp wanted to guarantee that that break, play a stronger side at Shrewsbury. Can't he play a stronger side at Shrewsbury?
Well, hold on a second. Why should he go out his way to help anybody? He's looking after his players and his club.
Right, and the FA are looking after a competition which they've already moved a little bit.
I'll tell you what, they've done a great job of looking after it, by the way, because most teams don't give two hoots about it.
About what?
About the FA Cup. It's what, fourth in line. It's done the pegging. Top four, Premier League, Champions League. Yeah, by the way, we've got the FA Cup.
I can tell you from the perception of somebody who doesn't have ties with the FA Cup like you guys do, and historically you guys have participated in this competition, I can only say, if I'm looking at it from the outside, man, Liverpool essentially saying, we don't really care about this. We don't. It's way down there in the perception of how important, or lack thereof, this competition really is. And so, if the effort is to try to make the FA Cup more important and more significant, and currently the most important team in the Premier League is saying it's not important enough for us, then, man, it just sends the wrong message altogether.
Klopp seems to be getting some heat himself for saying he himself is not going to be on the bench. He's going to
and I go back to that point. Listen, you talk about look after players. Play your if you want the rest, play the strongest team. He brought Salah and some of the big guns on at the end, but it was too late, right? And at the end of the day, they were 2-0 up, right? They were 2-0 up. It's not anybody else. It's not the FA's fault that Dejan Lovren can't even clear a ball that's right in front of him. The Liverpool captain, by the way. We've sat here, and rightly so, absolutely eulogised about Jurgen Klopp, right? And rightly so. He's done a magnificent job. However, in my opinion, if he wants to play the kids, that's fine. I don't care. That's his choice. But there's an opposing manager from the other team, from Shrewsbury, going to be there. A guy called Sam Ricketts. He's the manager. And out of respect for opposing managers, he should be on the touchline, in my opinion.
Right.
That's the only thing I agree with. I think that's
Jurgen should be there.
Yeah, I think it's a little disrespect. The rest of it, I have no problem with it whatsoever.
Robbo, where do you stand on this? It's kind of sullied what was supposed to be a positive thing, isn't it?
Well, obviously the Premier League and the FA can't agree on anything. They couldn't get the dates quite right. But I don't think Klopp isn't interested in the FA Cup anyway. You saw that by the side that he put out against Everton, a Merseyside derby at home. And they still won the game because the youngsters played well, they played with enthusiasm and all that sort of stuff. But unfortunately, many managers in the Premier League, even in the Championship, don't worry about the FA Cup anymore. And it's a shame because it can be a great tournament. We can see some great games at times until it gets to the semi-final and final. As it is in the Carabao Cup, the teams don't pick their or the managers don't pick their strongest teams. And that's going to keep happening and happening and happening until more money's involved in it, because that's what it comes down to. There's not enough money in the FA Cup. It's a business. The Premier League becomes the most important thing. Top four becomes the next. The Champions League as well, as Stevie said. So the FA Cup just goes way, way down in importance.
Well, we never quite did decide whether it's Shrewsbury or Shrewsbury. I heard it pronounced every which way yesterday. We'll get another chance when we get to that replay. The Gab and Jules podcast. Fresh one dropped just today. Freshly recorded for you over at the ESPN Pod Centre and the Apple Podcasts. Well, in Serie A, Inter trail Juventus now by just 3 points, despite drawing their last 3 games. Identical scorelines, 1-1. Antonio Conte's wanted reinforcements. So far, they've signed Ashley Young and Victor Moses. It looks like Christian Eriksen is the next on board. The Spurs midfielder, whose contract expires in the summer, pictured in Milan today, reportedly taking his medical ahead of a €20 million move. Stuart Robson, is this a game changer for Inter Milan?
I'm not sure it is. The way they play, Antonio Conte plays with the front two, which are the key to Inter Milan. They play with 3 midfield players, Brozovic as the holder, Barella and Sensi, who are good players. So he's going to come in for one of those, I'd imagine. Barella, he's a better passer of the ball than Barella, but he's not quite as dynamic. Barella will make runs into the box. Sensi will do exactly the same. So I think he'll come onto the right-hand side. Barella may move to the left. Sensi will be out the side, but he'll continue to rotate those players. It might just give them that extra edge. He might be able to rotate that a little bit more. He might get a better quality of pass out of Eriksen than he does out of those 2 other players. But I'm not sure it's going to be a game changer in terms of Inter winning the title. They're still a little bit way short of Juventus and maybe even Lazio.
I'm curious, guys. He's 28 next month. He was at Spurs for 6.5 years. Is there any chance we've already seen the best of Christian Eriksen?
28, you're in your prime.
Yeah.
Should be. Shouldn't be an issue. You're in your prime. I think it's a game changer in terms of squads. That's the big thing. And Conte is, Jesus, he's moaned like hell about squads and players and who he signs and who he's got. And they've backed him, pretty much backed him. And I think, all right, Young's not everyone's favourite, but he's an experienced player. It can do several roles. Moses was the wing back for him at Chelsea. But it's about somebody being able to come on and potentially, and he might have to spend a bit of time on the bench, Eriksen. But it's about somebody that can come on and, as Robbo said, pick a pass or change a game. And I think that's the one thing he's maybe bemoaned a little bit, saying, "Well, I turned to my bench and I haven't really got that many game changers." Well, Eriksen's certainly in that category.
Over 300 games for Spurs, Stevie. And of course, he's tailed off over the last year or two. Can he get back to where he was?
I don't see why not. 28 years old, he should be absolutely flying. I think the circumstances recently at Tottenham of what have been holding him back. But before that, he was the guy. He was the person who, from nowhere, could score a free kick or score from 30 yards. So if you're signing a guy who's capable of that, that has to make it a game changer.
Well, I agree that this is Inter making a statement and saying, look, we're in this race and we feel like we have a real opportunity to overtake Juventus. And so now we're sending that message to our players, to our fans, to everybody. We're willing to take the steps necessary in order to win the title. I would also say that at his very best, Christian Eriksen wasn't always the hardest working player out on the field. Is a guy that likes the ball on his feet. Is a guy that can pick a pass. Is a guy that likes space and the freedom to not only pick a pass but make himself as an impactful player in the attacking half. Antonio Conte is a guy that likes intensity and guys working and guys pressing and working together and working on that side but also coming back and working on the other side. And that's what he preaches and demands from his team. Those two things don't quite match. So somebody's going to have to give, and I think it's going to have to be Eriksen.
Yeah, I could see him working well with Lautaro Martinez because when his suspension's up, that is, for his stupidity at the weekend. But I can see him working well with him in terms of picking a pass, because out of the two strikers that they play, obviously Lukaku is the big physical one that does a lot of the heavy lifting, and Lautaro Martinez's movement's pretty good. You know, I mean, he's good at peeling off the shoulder and making those little runs, and Eriksen is very, very good at, you know, picking and seeing a pass.
Robbo, that's not the only piece of business apparently bubbling between the cities of Milan and North London. Coming in the other direction, rumoured to be Krzysztof Piątek from AC Milan to Spurs. Given his struggles this season, the big question is why?
I'm not sure why. I've seen a lot of him this season, saw a lot of him last season. He looked to be a one-hit wonder, really, a one-season wonder. He scored some great goals. He looked as though he was OK in the air. He looked to have a bit of pace without being really quick. He had one or two good finishes. But this season, he's looked way off the pace. He doesn't look as though he can run behind anybody. He doesn't link up the play. And that's why they've brought in Ibrahimovic and Leao play up front at the moment. And Piątek can't get in the side. He looks a very average footballer at the moment. And I don't think he'd cut it in the Premier League. And certainly not at Tottenham.
Spurs fans will be remembering the names of Roberto Soldado and Vincent Janssen, relatively recent signings at centre forward.
The one thing this guy has got over all of those, and you can talk about whether he's all-round game, whether he's a good footballer or he's not a good footballer. The one thing this guy's done is the one thing that Spurs need. He's gone into a side, his last two sides, and scored incredible amount of goals in a short space of time. Now, Spurs only need somebody till Kane comes back. So why would you not take the opportunity and take the chance? You're not going to have to spend a fortune on him, because all the things that Robbo said about him not being a particularly good footballer. So, you know, I think Milan just want rid of him. So why wouldn't you go and take a chance on somebody like him?
Would it be a loan, this one?
Well,
because it would make sense to me as a loan.
Yeah.
For all the
30 million euros has been talked about. That's what AC Milan would want. But
well, if Tottenham are in the... Look, Tottenham want to do something, as Stevie said, that's pretty much short-term. So that's not spending too much cash or getting a loan, and getting somebody in who's a natural in that position that can maybe light a fire for 6 months and then play second fiddle to Harry Kane when Harry Kane's back. Their bigger problem might come longer term when Harry Kane eventually goes, because he will. But that's something to think about, you know, down the line. Short term, I don't think it's a huge risk, money dependent.
Meanwhile, in Spain, perhaps another striker potentially on the move, as we show you after the dust settled what the standings look like. Real Madrid have opened up that 3-point gap over Barcelona after their defeat to Valencia over the weekend, and Barcelona's interest remains very high in one Rodrigo Moreno, the Brazilian striker. Ali only has 2 goals this season to go with 6 assists. Quite a drop-off from previous campaigns. Is he the right fit for Barcelona, do you think?
For what purpose? to cover a space? Maybe. To give you some depth? Yeah, sure. But this is a guy that at his best with Valencia, he needs space. He needs areas that he can run into. And when you play at Barcelona, you're not going to have that space, because most teams are going to drop off and they're going to be in lines of 4, and there is no space in behind. And so you have to be able to be a guy who combines in tight areas. And so that's part of the reason that you see Antoine Griezmann, even though he's starting in a central position, he starts drifting out wide, because he's looking naturally for space. He's looking for areas in which he can get the ball. Rodrigo Moreno doesn't match that. Rodrigo Moreno doesn't. He's not a guy that will look to combine and quick darting runs. No. He's a guy that likes to run, that likes to get in behind. That it's more about athleticism. With Barcelona, you need to bring technical ability. You need to bring an ability to read quick spaces and get in spaces underneath and get in between the lines and play off of Lionel Messi. He's not the answer for anything long term.
Who's coming up with this?
Well.
Who's coming up? He's a runner.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, they've got a Luis Suarez-sized
Well, they've just brought a coach in Setien, and the whole world's trying to tell everybody this guy just does possession football. That's what he wants, and the stats will tell you when in the loss, 800 passes went absolutely nowhere. This guy's a runner. He's not going to link up, is he?
I don't see it.
Who's come up with this?
Well, someone upstairs in the Barcelona.
The usual numpties upstairs.
Well, those upstairs have quite a say in what happens over the next few days. The last few days of the January transfer window upon us. You can follow it all on our website, espnfc.com. In the Carabao Cup, remember, we've reached the semi-final stage. Second legs coming up this week, starting on Tuesday. Aston Villa and Leicester City. Remember, that's 1 apiece after the first leg. There'll be no extra time, no away goals counting double. So watch it, Tuesday 2:45, ESPN+. You can also catch the Coppa Italia on ESPN+. 2 more quarterfinals to come this week. Inter and Fiorentina on Wednesday. AC Milan and Torino on Tuesday. And AC Milan are going to be wearing black armbands and holding a minute's silence for Kobe Bryant before the game against Torino, given Kobe's childhood love for the club. And this is what the Rossoneri put out a little earlier today. And plus on Wednesday, we got the second Carabao Cup semi-final second leg, Manchester City and Manchester United. That's a 2:45 start time. Inter against Fiorentina, the other Coppa Italia quarter-final, same start time. And in Spain, in the Copa del Rey, Zaragoza taking on Real Madrid. Again, all the games right here on ESPN+. And following the Manchester derby, the second leg of their semi-final, we will have a special edition of this very show, ESPN FC, and of course that you can catch on ESPN+ as well. Now, it might have come to your attention that Gabriel Jesus' record from 12 yards is a little less than desirable at the moment. Previous Sunday in a league game at Sheffield, he missed a penalty, 6th he's missed out of 10 attempts since 2017. Yesterday in the FA Cup, City awarded a penalty. Ilkay Gundogan took it instead of Jesus. He scored. But the Brazilian wants the responsibility back. He said, last game I was the penalty taker, and here normally I'm the taker, but today it's Ilkay Gundogan. In the training sessions I take them and I score more than I miss. If I take 5, I miss 1, and sometimes I don't miss. In games, it's been different. I've taken 3 this season and missed all 3. So that's the challenge.
Now, I'll tell you what the challenge is. The challenge is for him to find a coach that is just coming down off the moon and hasn't seen any games. That's the only way he's taking a penalty. Right, trust me.
Nobody misses in training, by the way.
Well, he misses 1.
He does miss 1.
Even he misses in training.
And he misses training as well.
This is 1 out of 5 in training and 3 out of 3 in games, apparently.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
He seems to be the only one that doesn't see it as a problem.
But he's not even close to scoring these penalties.
I mean, missed 6 out of 10.
Yeah. So, and when we talk about that he's missing, it's not like anyone watching the game or even the players out on the field have a certainty that he's going to score. In fact, the feeling is the opposite. When he steps over, it's like, oh, boy, what are they doing? We feel it. The players feel it. The only one who doesn't feel it is him. And yet, at some point, somebody's just got to grab him and say, no, Gabriel Jesus, no, papi. Gabriel, come on, sit down over here. You take it, Ilkay, or whoever. Anybody but you at this point.
Confidence is obviously everything with a penalty taker, isn't it? But he's got plenty of that.
Well, technique helps.
Yes. And the ability to put the ball past the goalkeeper. Frank LeBeuf will be weighing in on tomorrow's show. Hope you can join us for that. As always, the YouTube channel, a place to go for extra time. Your questions answered in various shapes or forms. And that will do it for today as we prepare for another varied edition of Extra Time. I think there's some tennis, some NFL, some turtlenecks all involved.
No football.
Robbie Bonds.
Maybe a little bit of football.
Throw-in coach.
Another Dutch guy. Who's that famous Dutch guy?
We'll see you next time. And away we go with Extra Time. Thank you for all your tweets and questions, of which there is an extensive collection in my hands. Extensive.
I'll tell you what to do. Fold the paper in half.
Oh, yeah. Just,
that's a less extensive
some
list.
Some of them just went away. Daniel gets us started in fine fettle. Should I hire a throwing coach for my youth footballing team, Steve? I'm thinking of firing all my assistants to get the throwing coach.
Yeah.
Don't go there.
Don't start me. Don't start me.
You go there.
How many assistant coaches do you have in a young football team?
I was wondering. Maybe this is...
Actually, you just reminded me of something when you said fold it in half.
What's that?
We used to have a player at Liverpool called Phil Thompson, right? And he had a huge nose. And every single day, everybody used to go up to him and go, hey, how'd you make Phil Thompson's nose 12 inches long? Fold it in half. Every day somebody said that to him. It was fantastic.
Oh,
I'm sure he loved it.
Tomo.
Well, he just brushed.
See, that's him sidestepping the throw-in coach question there.
Yeah. Didn't think we'd be getting Phil Thompson's nose into the answer. That's one.
Well, you don't know how. Well, he just told you how big it is.
And actually, just to finish off, by the end, you didn't have to recite the whole thing.
Right.
You just walk in and go, "How'd you make?" And that was it. Everybody would just start laughing.
Robbo, I don't think you've had a chance to weigh in on the Stevie versus Jules tete-a-tete vis-a-vis the throw-in coach.
Well, all I would say, in England, there's been a lot of talk about it, and they've been calling Stevie a dinosaur, which I think everybody would agree with. But that's not to do with the throwing coach. I'm not sure what you'd need a throwing coach to do. You know, you get two hands behind the ball, and you put the ball behind your head, and you throw it in to one of your teammates. That always helps. So why you'd want a throwing coach, I do not know.
But what I would say is, right, and I don't want to harp on about this.
Then why? But we're going to.
You're going to. You're going to.
No, but you're saying, well, you make yourself a little bit silly there, Robbo, no, because there's a little bit, you know, clearly we have one of the best coaches in the world, probably the most sought-after coach at the moment in the world, and he sees fit to have this coach.
Right.
Now, who are we then to say?
But what do you think the throwing coach is getting him to do? To throw it longer or get the ball?
Well, listen, as you know, not everybody can be a Rory Delap type character. For those that remember him, he could shell the ball like 50 yards. But if you can, I'm just surmising here, if you can get people to throw the ball longer and flatter and quicker as a technique to get you on a counter-attack or whatever, that must be what he's thinking. I'm not saying, you know, it's going to make the biggest difference in the game, but don't you think?
You're looking for that extra little percent, aren't you?
I'm
You're just looking for that extra little percent, aren't you?
Do you know? Actually, you know what, Robbie? You know what set me off actually? Because I understand that. If you think you can get some sort of edge or make somebody any better by doing something, then go for it. But what set me off was Jules turned round and said, "Oh, that goal was created because of the throwing coach." What's an absolute lot of nonsense. And you get all these people jumping on that, you know, that's because of the goal. What, the throwing coach? Absolute nonsense. That's what set me off.
If you've got a coach coming in to work on routines about how you can get better movement from throw-ins, how you can buy yourself a little bit of space, I understand that. That's part of set plays that you have. You'd have it on free kicks, you have it on corners, you can have it on throw-ins. But I'm not sure you can make somebody who's got a bit of athleticism throw the ball any further if you give him a bit of education, maybe a yard or two. Is that going to make a big difference?
All right, we'll move on.
Yeah, well,
because I'm sure we're going to. This is far from done yet. We will go. Stevie Nicholls' personal chef, the provider of the next question. What happened to Danny Ceballos?
Who?
What did happen to Danny Ceballos? Any ideas?
I think he made an appearance today, didn't he?
He did make an appearance today. Robert, what has happened to Danny Ceballos?
Well, he started the season and he played most of the games early on and he looked to be a good player, and then Unai Emery sort of left him out and he came back into the side, and then he had an injury and he went back and got his treatment in Madrid, which a lot of players do now. And Mikel Arteta has only just recently seen him the last week and a half, and he's put him in the side. And I think Ceballos wasn't happy with the game time he was getting, and I think he wants to go back and go away from his loan, but Arsenal aren't going to let him do that. He's going to have to stay at Arsenal till the end of the season. It's a season-long loan, I think.
Listen, wouldn't that be one of the greatest, easiest jobs in the world?
How big is personal chef?
Steve Nicholls' personal chef. What does that consist of? Going down and going, buying for the boss today, what's the... Mince. What else?
I'm not arguing.
Potatoes. And what are you making today?
Well... Need vegetables with it.
Some vegetables.
It's not a mince, though?
Not a lot of thinking going on there, Robbo, is there? You know, if you're Stevie's personal chef.
What sort of mince? Mince is what they do to it. What is you having? Lamb, beef, or pork?
No, it's
what
beef.
Sort of mince?
Beef. Of course he's having beef.
Minced beef.
Yeah. He doesn't have any of that lamb.
Come
nonsense.
on, Stewie.
I do believe
You knew better than that.
Stewie, I do believe it's 98% minced beef.
I would imagine it's fat. 98% fat.
Wow.
Not you, Stevie.
No.
Of course.
That's
100%.
Of course. I knew that already.
Bob, with lots of numbers after his name.
Bob.
Simple question.
What do you call a man in the sea with no arms and no legs?
Blackadder.
Bob.
Blackadder.
Yes, indeed. Piontek or Jovic? Simple question.
Jovic.
Yep. Simple answer.
What is it?
Piontek or Jovic?
Oh, sorry. I thought it was a pronunciation thing there.
Piontek.
Yeah? Anyone else want to weigh in? Anyone with a different idea?
Well, you only gave us 2.
Yeah. No, that's Jovic.
How many more ideas do you want? You gave us 2.
Graziani? I mean, I don't know.
Sammy wants to know, it's very key. He's asked this sort of question before about you, Robert. Are you doing the second leg of the League Cup with Peter Drury this week, or is it a different commentator? Some people are very intrigued into your commentator matchups.
No. Peter Drury has been double booked, so he's not doing that game. So I'm with, I believe, Gary Taphouse.
Oh, yes.
If you know Gary Taphouse?
Yep, we do.
Yep. You know,
Yep.
Yeah, you know, people go in these forums and that, and like to see who's doing commentaries.
Yeah. Yeah, they do.
It's quite sad.
That's
quite
just the
interesting.
commentators and the co-commentators.
Oh, who's doing the commentary? Oh,
Have you seen these forums personally?
Stuart's with Gary. Oh, yes, isn't that? Oh, and Ian Dark is with so and so. Oh, my marvellous.
Would you rather...
Tomorrow I'm going to try and find something interesting to do. Or I'll go be on the forum again and have a butcher's.
Would you rather have a holiday?
I digressed. Yes.
Would you rather have a
I don't
holiday
know what the second one is.
or
but
play in a fourth-round FA Cup replay? Asks Bizarro Mike. I think I know the answer, but...
It's always a holiday.
What do you mean?
Always a
You
holiday.
having a laugh?
Always a holiday.
Not even a question.
I mean, nice little Tuesday night tilt with Shrewsbury or Shrewsbury. Wouldn't...
Or
Let's move on. We'll take a holiday. Move
of
on.
course we will.
Ali Moreno's 100% the provider of the next.
100%.
My question to Jack Invicta, a.k.a. Stephen Craig. Have you guys watched the show Still Game?
he does.
Well, I watch it all the time.
Literally every night, yeah?
I watch it all
Mince,
the time.
guaranteed.
And still game at some stage.
Yeah.
Have you heard the phrase
Absolutely.
creature of habit?
Absolutely.
Well...
I don't watch it. I know about it. I've never really got into that programme when I was living in England.
Yeah.
But
I was told not to bother because 1, I could not understand it, and 2, I wouldn't get the humor. That's what I was told.
It is a Scottish sitcom, right, Stevie?
Yes, Scottish sitcom.
It's been going for years and years.
is it better
Yeah.
than Rabsy Nesbitt? Because
Yes.
that tailed off.
Yes. No, it's better than Rap
It
Scene,
did
isn't
tail
it?
off.
Yeah, there's a lot of great characters in it.
I've seen
One
bits
of my
it. Oh, it's
favourite
good.
actually is Naveed, who owns the shop, his wife. Her partner's fantastic. And you never see her. You've never, ever seen her face. You always go to her and she's facing the other way.
Oh, really?
But her partner's brilliant.
Nice. You can see those viewing figures escalating right now.
I would recommend it. Some may have a problem with understanding it. It's a little Glaswegian,
That would be me.
but I would recommend it.
How do you celebrate Burns Night? Asks my thoughts and feelings. I imagine haggis is hard to find outside of Scotland.
Even if you could find it, I wouldn't eat it.
No, man.
You ain't eating it.
I've never celebrated. I'm not into stuff like that.
No, snap.
No kilts on or
No.
haggis is down.
No.
But do you own a kilt?
Cursing the English.
Although Robbie Burns, obviously the poet who it's named after, is actually from
Ayrshire.
where me and his nibs are from.
Right.
Ayrshire, yeah.
But we still refuse.
Yeah.
Tam O'Shanter.
Yeah. Dalmatian.
Do they do anything? I don't even know if they do much in Scotland for it, to be quite frank.
Yeah, they do, but it's kind of getting popular out with the Scotland the last decade.
Hey, they
Right,
did
'cause we
the other
never-
night
Right.
in our pub, in our local village pub. They had a Burns night. I don't know what they were doing there, but they had a Burns night, celebrating it.
And did you go?
In
You
the
didn't get down there and show your knees off, Robert?
No, certainly didn't do that. No, I don't celebrate anything Scottish, I've got to say.
You know, you're asking about the kilt. It's expensive.
Our
It's
producer,
heavy. It's heavy.
our producer, bless him, is wondering how a poet got a day. How did Robbie Burns get a day to himself in Scottish history?
What an ignorant question that is. Seriously. You stupid man, where are you?
He's up there. He's in my ear.
How did he get a day? Robbie Burns, the most famous poet in Scotland.
But I guess his point would be, well, the most famous poet in the Netherlands didn't get a day.
Well, nobody knows who he is. That's why.
He's that famous.
Everybody around the whole world knows who Robbie Burns is.
Right.
And nobody knows who this Dutch guy is.
Why are we picking on the Dutch guy?
Well, because he came from a Dutch guy.
Of course he gets a day, Scottish.
Who
Who invented the telephone?
At least our famous guy's got 2 ears.
We're fed up inventing people, inventing stuff.
Aye.
Right.
The telephone, the TV.
Yeah.
Probably got that wrong, I don't know.
The roads, Tarmac Adam.
Yeah. Favourite tennis player? Asks Gabe. Is there going to be a Scottish answer to that? Andy Murray?
Bjorn Borg.
Okay.
McEnroe, Borg.
Yeah, only in the old days. I don't watch it now.
Those 70s
Yeah, the down.
Bjorg McEnroe tilts were great.
Current, I'll take Roger Federer.
Yeah. All time?
Past, I'd like Michael Chang.
Ooh.
What?
Okay.
I'm not saying he was the most dominant. I just like the guy who would get to the ball here, get to the ball there, get to the ball here.
He used to serve underarm. What kind of tennis genius is that?
Wait a minute. A guy who maximized his skill set and made the most of what he had available and worked his tail off and became #1 player in the world. What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
You ever seen the thing on Plus?
My
Maybe on
goodness.
Plus. I think it's on Plus. But Jimmy Connors.
Oh, yeah. Well, he was a great player.
God, he was he's
Yeah, it's a 30 for 30.
the 30 for
That's what it
30.
is.
Sorry,
Jimmy Connors.
it's on one of the many that's on Plus promotional.
Well done.
Company man. Thousands of stuff on there. But I did watch. Actually, there's a few, and I was surprised at him because I thought he was, from the outside, I thought he was this guy who was just everybody loved him. But they did
The opposite.
It was the opposite. McEnroe was like scathing and like. So anyway, that's my bit. I've done my bit.
Robbo, got you down as a bit of an Ili Nastasi guy. Is that right?
No.
Is that because he's got hair?
When I was young, here we go.
Oh, Boston Montrum.
HR again. You either like Bjorn Borg or you liked, not Jimmy Connors, McEnroe. And I liked Bjorn Borg. He was calm, he was great, he had that wooden racket, he was magnificent.
He had lots of hair as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
I thought
It was a thing, yeah.
I thought Robbo was going to throw a Boston Montrum out there.
He could serve it, couldn't he?
Yeah, he could.
He could serve the ball.
The Americans
That was all
should
he
like
could do.
Arthur Ashe. They should like Arthur Ashe, really, shouldn't they? They've got a stadium named after him.
There's no
That's
Americans here. What are you
That's
talking
right.
about?
Finally, the really important question of the day.
Why does he hate Michael Chang? Yeah, I think that's an important question.
Oh, okay. There it is. The really important question. Niners or Chiefs? This Sunday.
Chiefs.
I'd like to see the Chiefs win.
Yep.
Because I don't know them, but I'd like. I
Mahomes.
don't dislike the 49ers or any of the players, but I like the coach, Andy Reid.
The Walrus, yeah.
Walrus.
Andy Reid.
I'm going to take the Niners and their defense.
Oh, you
to be
and your
able to
West Coast
Well,
ways.
no, just to be able to control
You
Patrick Mahomes.
love exciting things, don't you? Michael Chang and the Niners defence. You've got a guy Mahomes who's incredible at attacking.
Yes.
Right.
And he wants.
I didn't say I want this to happen. I merely think that this is what
There's a bit
could
of a pattern
happen.
here.
What's that?
There's a bit of a pattern.
See, just because Michael Chang was a hard-working guy, you didn't like him. What's the problem with
No,
that?
I didn't say I didn't like him. But you've got a choice about these players.
I know, but when I was growing up, there was a few of these players out, and his contemporaries were what? Pete Sampras, Andre Agassi. Well, those are the obvious choices. I like Michael Chang. What's wrong with that?
Jimmy Garoppolo, he relies a lot on his.
On the running game, doesn't he?
Yeah,
he
he does,
does.
doesn't he? Unlike Mahomes.
So if the Niners control the running game and they play defense,
They got to keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands.
I'm
haven't
just
they?
saying.
But I don't
Not
think
that
they're
I'm
going to
against the Pats or anything like that, but
Robbo, what's your
You're done. Hey, we're done with. No, we don't want.
what's your take on the Super Bowl?
What's Craig and Stevie trying to talk Super Bowl and tactics and things like
It's
that? What's that
fascinating,
about
isn't it?
American football,
it's
NFL.
good.
Come on, give us you. Who's
dear.
going to win? You know.
I would like the 49ers to win.
You'd like the
'Cause
49ers, really?
in the 80s, they were a big team. Who was the Joe Theismann? Was it? Who was the
Joe Montana. Come on,
Montana,
Robo.
that's it. Joe Montana.
Robbo, are you telling me,
was a
right?
good-
Are you telling
Yeah.
me about 8 years ago, you didn't listen to me during the half-time of the Super Bowl, me and Barnsey talking NFL? Honestly.
Funnily enough, no, there's many things I would listen to. You and Barnsley talking at any time, let alone on the NFL. I wouldn't be watching.
You do me a favour? Will you wipe that pie off my face?
You and Barnsley.
I'm talking. He's wiping the pie off my face that you gave me. You're still talking. Thank you.
You and Barnsley at half-time. We're going to have to put up with Shakira and J-Lo.
I think it was Channel 4 back in the UK.
Who's the entertainment?
Shakira and J-Lo are the half-time show.
Okay.
You and Barnsley could give them a run for the money.
No.
Maybe one.
See, when they get everybody out and they put the stuff on top of the pitch and all that, the half-time into, I can't be bothered with all that nonsense. Seriously, it's like, oh, it's like, get on.
You're 20 Peronas in by that stage, aren't you, Craig?
20 what?
20 Peronis in by that stage.
I'm off the Peronis,
Actually,
Robbo.
Robbo and I were like that at the Champions League final. Right. You know, before the game they had that group on. Who was it?
You had no idea who they were. They were useless. Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, him and I were sitting talking, going, I wish you'd get the game on, get these off, get the game going. Oh, that's nonsense.
They were shocking, weren't they? Absolutely shocking.
Are we going to go the whole show without talking about Robbo's turtleneck?
Well,
how aggressive it is, or no? We just
we can finish on that.
Oh, it's
note,
80s. The whole outfit.
There's a reason.
There's a reason. It's the 80s.
Yeah.
Very Captain
There's
Picard
a reason
look.
I'm wearing it.
Sorry, the 60s.
I was out in the cold doing a game. I wasn't expected to come on the show. I got a late call, wasn't dressed for the occasion, had to make do with this. That's the reason.
Seriously, Robbo, can I ask you a question here? And you just said it.
Hold on.
You got a late call to do this show.
Hey,
A latest, before I'd left home by the time I got the call.
How was he sitting outside? He was in the studio. He just said he was sitting outside in the cold.
Yeah.
What were you doing sitting outside in the cold if you weren't at the game?
Well, I was at the game. Bournemouth versus Arsenal.
Oh, yeah. So you were, right? Aye. Yeah.
So we had to wait.
He got a space shuttle.
I got a plane from Liverpool to wherever I was, Naples last night.
What do you call these things the youngsters do when they're the neck?
I'm sorry.
Tattoos?
No, when they,
When you bite it.
yeah, when the little bit of coating starts.
it's known as a love bite.
Yeah, well, they don't call it that here, do they? What do they call it?
A
Something?
hickey?
A hickey.
A hickey, aye.
Robbo's
Robbo.
been...
Oh, is that what it? Is that the reason, Stuart?
Hickey.
There's no hickey there, don't worry. Those days are gone.
Go on, keep those bones.
See.
Keep those bones covered up, will you?
I did not need to know any of that. Oh, no.
Well, we managed to make extra time longer than the Super Bowl itself somehow, but...
well, half time anyway.
Yeah, well, actually, I don't know. We will be back tomorrow with more of the same.
Still got some cream on the
But
side of
not
your
quite.
face.